David Perkins, and I've been photographing dancers for about 10 years now. I got into photography maybe about 15 years ago. I had always been in the arts, sculpture, paintings, drawings, illustration, and I didn't see much of a future in it. And doing that my entire childhood, I got kind of tired of it. And so when I was working on cars for a living after high school, I bought a camera and just became really obsessed with photography. The first few things that I began photographing were women, close friends of mine, portraiture, same as every male photographer, I think. And then that developed into a desire for beauty and fashion. And when I went to school for photography, I wound up working with dancers pretty soon in my college career. I've been photographing dancers since then. I find most of my dancers these days via word of mouth. Friends recommend to other friends who are dancers. When I first moved to New York City after college, I walked from basically the top of Manhattan to the bottom of Manhattan, putting up posters at every single dance school in the city. And I met a few dancers that way who I still work with today. I don't really care about their physical appearance so much as their physique and the way that they can move. Every time I work with a new dancer, I ask them to send me video of them performing so I can see how they move and sort of base my decisions that way. What makes a good photo? The most important thing to me is light. Composition is a very close second. But photography is drawing with light. That's what it is. And if you don't have good light, you don't have a good photograph, period. The idea for Home Stage came from basically living in New York City and not being able to afford anything ever. Studios in this city are very expensive, and big production work requires a team, assistants, hair, makeup, studio space, equipment. It requires lots of scheduling, working with other people's schedules. It can be very exhausting, very expensive, and I got tired of doing that. I didn't have the money to do that. So I sat at a computer one day and thought about what kind of work could I do that still allows me to shoot dancers? Because up until that point, I had only ever really done studio work, photographing dancers in studios with strobes and everything. And I took a look at everyone else's work and I saw that most people were photographing dancers around New York City, in the streets. They were shooting them in the woods, among trees, things of that nature. They were shooting in studios. But what I didn't see was anybody photographing dancers like inside places. Dancers were always outside. And so I just came up with the idea to photograph dancers in their own homes. I don't have to pay anything to go visit them. Every time I shoot a dancer, it's going to be different. So it was really sort of born out of necessity to create something and find a way to do it. My work and my life are very similar. I'm a very energetic person, always moving, always thinking of new ideas, things to do, trying to stay active and inspired by things. So I hike a lot, I bike a lot, I do yoga, and I think that the activeness of my personal life is very influenced and associated with the energy that you see in a lot of my work. I don't find it difficult to critique my own work or move on and evolve. I know a lot of people do struggle with that. I never have. I've always been able to see things sort of for what they are and analyze it, find the good and the bad, and I don't get offended when people say negative things about my work. As long as it's constructive, I might curse at them if they say something mean, but if it's well thought out criticism, I'm going to take it and use it and better myself with it. People say a lot of things about my work, but some of the best comments, my favorite things to hear are that they love the sense of intimacy in the images. They love the sense of the personal quality to a lot of the images in home stage. And those are really kind of things that I try to achieve. I try to befriend the dancers. They're not just nobodies, they're not just strangers. I don't photograph strangers. I photograph people that I know. And so I like to get to know all of the dancers that I work with. And so when people recognize that connection, I think it's a nice thing to hear.